We're inside Reynolds Coliseum in Raleigh, North Carolina for this presentation of ACC College Basketball presented by your local Ford dealer. It's the first ever meeting between the Wildcats and the Wolfpack. It's Bethune-Cookman out of the SWAC to take on NC State here in Raleigh. And it is so great to have you with us for our game this evening. Tom Wormy, along with the All-American from Duke, Mike Jaminski. And Mike, if you're NC State, the one thing you absolutely cannot do is look ahead to your next game. That's against #1 Purdue.
Kevin Keats didn't even want to hear the P word before this game. Quintessential trap game, a focus game for sure.
It is time for our hardy star to watch, and he wears an NC State Wolfpack uniform. Darian Sebron emerging as a true star, rebounding and scoring in the ACC.
And he's been rock solid for the Wolfpack so far, 20 and 10 every single night, double-doubles, also a solid defender.
If you're Bethune-Cookman, Mike, it's a year of first. Reggie Theus is the first-year head coach and athletic director. Your first ever meeting against NC State. And they also have not played their first home game so far.
No, but he has head coaching experience on the college level, on the pro level, and certainly he is very excited about this opportunity, them in a new conference as well.
Over 19,000 career points, a few more than the G-Man. We'll get into that during the course of the game. Theus and the Wildcats against Keats and the Wolfpack. The starting lineups, the opening tip from Raleigh next. Moments away from that opening tip between Bethune-Cookman and NC State. Here inside Reynolds Coliseum, the starting lineup for Reggie Theus. Joe French is the third leading scorer in the SWAC. First year in the SWAC this year for Bethune-Cookman. And these starting lineups are brought to you by your local Toyota dealer as we check out Kevin Keats and his starting lineup. And Terquavian Smith gets his second straight start. And that is in place of the injured Casey Morsell, missing his second straight game with an ankle injury suffered in the quadruple overtime win against Nebraska. NC State controls the opening tip. They're in the white and red. In the gold, it's the Wildcats from Bethune-Cookman.
And Tom, with those injuries too, and talk about Manny Bates, this all of a sudden becomes a very young Wolfpack team.
Manny Bates, one of the top shot blockers from a season ago in the ACC. Despite his absence, NC State, the leading shot blocking team in the conference, over 5 per game. Spinning to the rim and scoring, and it's Helms.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of one-on-one basketball for NC State, but that's a terrific move. And Helms has had some big scoring nights for the Wolfpack this year.
They are 6-2 on the season. Helms is the senior in the lineup, had 18 points in the loss on Saturday in the first conference game against Louisville, and that was a game high for Helms in that losing effort. Shot clock down to 7 for the Wildcats. In traffic, knocked away, and stolen. Smith grabbed it. Hayes on the dribble. Trying to work his way to the rim. Couldn't calculate the angle. Swatted back into the backcourt and off of the Wildcats.
Cam Hayes is their best decision maker, about 3.5 assist to turnover ratio.
Helms again.
Long two that time, and that shot was set up by the drive earlier. Had a good look at the basket.
Helms averages over 15 points per game. That is 10th best in the ACC. That foul is against Hayes. Time for our keys to the game. They're brought to you by your local Ford dealer with Mike Jaminski.
Yeah, for Bethune-Cookman, they've got to take care of the basketball, get shots in whenever they can in the half court. Of course, NC State looking to turn them over. And for State, they've got to find some scoring off the bench. They didn't have any points against Louisville in that loss.
That was on Saturday, 73-68. They did shoot 40% as a team, but came up short. Trailed by 14 and made the comeback in the second half. It wasn't enough. That bounces off the rim, taken by Polina.
And that's one thing that Kevin Keats said. He wants to get better defensive rebounding out of his team. They've given up too many second chance opportunities. See one right here for the Wildcats.
Garrett on the drive, flips it back out. Robertson misses. Helms with the clearance and outlet. This is Sebron. Trying to work off of that screen just beyond the free throw line. Dewana. Right back to the rim. Second effort. Held ball situation. And the arrow favors the Wildcats.
Good defense that time. Dewana, the first half of that is what he does well. Getting offensive rebounds. just a terrific job getting on top of the ball that time defensively. Joe French making the play, and they had the possession arrow. But that's, Dewan's he's going to block shots. He's going to get rebounds for you. And if they're going to get scoring, it's going to be out of Jalen Gibson.
Dewan is fourth in the conference, over 2.5 block shots per game. Bethune-Cookman with the basketball. They're 1-7 on the season, 0-5 away from Daytona Beach, Florida. Angular rebound, and that one scooped up by Thomas Allen, who is into the lineup for NC State. On the giddy up, they flip it around the perimeter. This is Smith, and that's a three.
Terquavian Smith really had his coming out party against Louisville. Terrific effort in his first ACC competition in the turnover.
Smith glides to the rim. 9-0 Pack.
Well, for NC State, this is what you want to do. Give them a little initiation early. A terrific start by them offensively and defensively. Good extra pass for the open three on the fast break situation. And then this is what Kevin Keats has brought to NC State, is that offense off of defense and great conversion.
Smith with the three ball. That's his 17 made three of the season. Smith and Helms combining for all 9 points so far. Smith is a double-digit scorer, and Helms, he's one of the best in the conference.
He was a bit of an unknown. He committed to NC State as a sophomore, and he really blossomed after that. People tried late recruiting, but stuck with the Pack.
Bethune-Cookman coming off a loss on Sunday, and that was against UCF, Central Florida. That is tipped out of bounds and will stay with Bethune-Cookman.
One team they beat was Bryant. It was their best scoring game of the year, 81-75. And Bryant, I saw that they lost to Clemson, but it's a very good basketball team.
That was on November 20th, that victory against Bryant. Trying to come out of that corner, Polina.
He was expecting to not be that open inside, rush the shot a little bit. But this is what Bethune-Cookman wants to do. They want to drive the basketball, try to get to the free throw line.
Helms and Dewana cannot collaborate. That's off of Dewana, out of bounds, and to Bethune-Cookman. Out of Daytona Beach, Florida, Mike, the Wildcats. 3,700, the enrollment at their school, their first year in the SWAC. They had been a member of the MEAC, which that season last year was canceled. The previous year, all postseason tournaments were canceled.
Yeah, they were a member of that conference for 40 years, so that's a big step up. You and I talking to Reggie Theus before the game, really excited about making that move.
And again, he is the first-year head coach and athletic director. Kind of old school, and his team has its first basket. It's Bolden. Correction, Robertson on the jumper.
Yeah, they're one of their best shooters, 55%. Nice solid jump shot that time. They needed that, just a mental health basket, get on the scoreboard.
Hayes, hesitation, high arcing shot. Dewana, offensive glass, and he spins it in.
You see, Robertson, for some reason, went after that block. He had no opportunity to get it, and that left him wide open on the offensive glass.
McIntyre trying to bring it up. They drop it inside on the other side of the rim. It's Robertson again.
Much better rhythm to their offense since that timeout. Just had to settle in after that standing 8 count.
NC State started out 9-0 against the visiting Wildcats in the Heritage game here inside historic Reynolds Coliseum.
I love it. I've called games here in the past, and they've done a great job in remaking Reynolds into a Hall of Fame / court. Wow. And Jericho Helms looking to cement his place in this building as well. Gotten off to a hot start from 3.
As we play on K-Yao Court, Jim Valvano Arena, Reynolds Coliseum, named for the legendary coaches here at NC State. On the run, Smith, past 2 defenders, can't get it over the front of the rim.
pretty good chase down by McIntyre, not giving up on the play, forcing the miss on that layup. And we should mention too, Jim Valvano, an AD and coach in his time at NC State too. So Reggie Theus following in those footsteps. Not an easy thing to take on those roles at the same time for the first time.
That national title back in 1983 for Coach Valvano in the Pack. Gliding in, there's a follow by Robertson high above the rim.
He has been the offense so far for the Wildcats, and this again, you know, DeWanna's going to go after everything. So if you're smart, you can get on the offensive glass.
We've gone over 6 minutes of straight action without any breaks. Catch your breath, Jaminski.
It's like old school Reynolds. We had no TV timeouts.
Smith tried to find DeWanna, bounced off the backboard. Now out of the corner for three. Here's Garrett. Cranking up the three ball, and good from Joe French.
Well, how about French? And we talked about he is their best scorer, 16 points a game, good shooter as well, and had the confidence that time. Only one player back, and he launches a three.
Foul on Bethune-Cookman. How about Helms stepping back and knocking it down? 7 points for Jericho Helms, and that includes a three.
Wolfpack up 14-9, and Jericho Helms has been the offensive star so far. Set things up with a drive to start off with the long two there off the jab step, and this was a tough three under duress. He is perfect from the floor, and the thing you like about him, Tom, is in his fourth year, senior year, he has increased his scoring every single year by about 3 points a game.
He has scored or assisted on 12 with the 14 points for NC State. They've got the basketball. This is Helms. Taken on the weak side by West. Sebron has yet to score in the game, Mike, for NC State. Although he went up and got that man-sized rebound right there and wants to run it. That's a three, and it'll rattle home for Thomas Allen.
And that's what Sebron gives you. He can get a rebound and bring it out of the backcourt and start the break by himself. Doesn't have to find a guard. Quick transition basket that time.
17-9, closing in on 12 minutes to go in our first half from Reynolds Coliseum. This building opened up in 1949. Recent multi-million-dollar renovations. Home to the women's program primarily. Miss an attempted follow from Long, and that one will drop.
Nice second effort that time. He was the only Wildcat in the paint area. Came up with his miss and followed. Good second effort.
Helms with a defender right on him. That'll be a two.
That's the second contested long jumper. He's got to be frustrated. He's had two long twos, one step away from a three.
Hasn't missed a shot, 4 for 4, including a three-pointer.
Yep, seeing a big basket here early.
He's up to 9 points, leading scorer in our game. Driving is West, had to give it up.
That's what they do, drive and pitch.
Polina missed the three. Bethune-Cookman not a bad three-point shooting team, 5th in the SWAC at 30%.
Polina now just 3 of 24 on the year, so still to find his range.
Sebron in traffic. Work on the offensive glass and a foul. Ross was in there. So Helms just on the line. You saw the right foot, but he still hasn't missed. He's 4 for 4.
ACC College Basketball is brought to you by your local Ford dealer. By Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina. We resolve to continue stepping up for you and your family. And by the Fresh Market, voted #1 best supermarket in America.
And we take a look at tonight's startup presented by your Honda dealers of the Carolinas. It's the 1970 team being honored at halftime. They were supposed to do it last year, Mike. This team won the ACC tournament back in 1970 with a double overtime win against South Carolina in Charlotte.
And that's when the ACC champion was the only team to go to the NCAA tournament. But Norm Sloan getting this program on a winning track early. Dan Williford a double-double. That's a pretty stout double-double right there, 24 and 10.
And then 4 years after that, a national championship here in Raleigh. The 1970 team to be honored at halftime. Nice moment. You can just taste the nostalgia, Mike, when you walk through the doors of Reynolds Coliseum.
Yeah, I remember this well. And I'm old, but I wasn't here for the open of the building, but I did play here in the late 70s.
The home of the ACC tournament, Mike, when it got started.
Yeah, right.
1954 to 66. NC State won it 5 times within that time frame. Bethune-Cookman started slowly 0 for 4. There are 5 of their last 10 shot attempts. West was cut off. Difficult shot. High degree of difficulty. And here's Sebron. His pass was tipped. Polina got it.
Yeah, good active hands. French got out on the pass, the deflection.
That went out of bounds near the baseline off of Helms at NC State and will be Wildcats basketball. NC State is 6-2 on the season, 0-1 in conference play. That was the game Saturday at home against Louisville, PNC Arena. 5-1 officially at home this season for NC State. Their second SWAC opponent. They also beat Texas Southern.
Who had a great game, had a big win against Florida. Won that game going away. Florida had to have a late flurry just to make it close.
The way the landscape looks now in college basketball, Mike, I think that's just going to happen over and over during the course of the season.
And the thing is, too, I mean, you look at this Bethune-Cookman team, they're new, but they're older guys. I mean, there are very few freshmen out on the floor. They are juniors, seniors, and grad students.
Ross picked up the foul for NC State. He's in there, number 24, in white and red. This is French, the leading scorer for the Wildcats. Sheds his defender and floats one. In any language, Mike, that's a nice move from French.
Yeah, beautiful floater pulled up, took a charge out of play, and so far he's starting to get going. Let's see if Sebron gets into the offense a little bit.
French was their leading scorer with 12 points in the loss against Central Florida in their most recent game for the Wildcats. Inside of 10 minutes to go in our first half. Sebron loading up the 3 and didn't turn out the way he wanted.
No, that's not his game. And he's made 1 3 on the year. I saw that. I'm pretty sure it was against Texas Southern. And but you know, he's a mid-range slasher type of scorer, especially out in the open floor. But they're going to give him that 3-point shot.
When he gets inside the 3-point arc, he's 55% shooting this season, Mike. Sebron is 0 for 4 from the floor so far for the redshirt sophomore from Norfolk, Virginia. Just think of the amazing production that he's been able to contribute this season. Last year, he averaged about 5 points a game.
The MO with Kevin Keats, I mean, he gets guys in there and they develop. I talked about Helms and his development. And Duana, unfortunately, Manny Bates not out there, but that's a guy that they've had really cleaning things up defensively. The big thing for him is he's got to stay out of foul trouble. He's had 4+ personal fouls, 6 of 8 games.
Deep into the shot clock, and that runner bounces off for Garrett. That'll be Pack basketball. Yeah, you've got Duana in there. Bates, unfortunately, out for the season, a right shoulder injury, and that was November 9th. First game of the year, Mike, against Bucknell. 57 seconds into the game.
It's just hard. You know, I've said I don't root for teams, but I root against injuries, and I just hate for that to happen.
3-pointer, long rebound, and the miss there from pass. Smith. Duana got out of the way. Sebron lost the handle.
They're really digging on him on the off the drive too. Good solid defense.
Long rebound back to the Wildcats, shooting 33% so far in the first half. NC State is at 47%, and the lead is 6. Power dribble inside, up and in. Jacoby Long.
They've settled it since that 9-0 start for NC State. Bethune-Cookman settled in. They're up 15-10 over this stretch. Reggie Theus talked about playing games in 4-minute increments and trying to win each one of those.
It's been over 3 minutes without points for NC State, and Sebron puts an end to that.
You know, and to his credit, he really has not been hunting his offense. He just let things come to him. Nice finish inside.
First points of the night for Darian Sebron. Averages over 20 per game, second best in the ACC, and he's the leading rebounder in the conference as well. Helms able to gather. 1-on-2. Waiting for reinforcements. Pass with the shot. Bottom of the net for pass.
Good foul. Only 1 of 10 coming in from range.
The freshman from Reidsville, North Carolina. 1 3-pointer, Mike, and he's above his average for scoring for the season. Sebron off the feed from Smith through the defense, and an easy layup for Darian Sebron. He's in the box score. A mini 5-0 run for NC State to take a 24-15 lead. They've led by as many as 10 of the first half. Time now to check out the player comparison. It's brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina. Mike Sebron and Michael Defoe, leading scorer in the ACC.
Well, that's what's impressive with Sebron is that 20 points on only 1 3-point basket in the whole season. So he's kind of scoring it the old-fashioned way. And, of course, he had that 39-point effort against Nebraska, which helps your average a little bit.
Of course, Michael DeVoe's made 24 3-pointers so far this season for the defending champs at the ACC tournament, the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Coach Pastner. Sebron, that game against Nebraska, Mike, that you mentioned, career highs, 39 points, the 19 rebounds. But the impressive thing, 33 points in the second half and the overtimes, and there were 4 of those against the Huskers.
Yeah, it's like playing another half. You get 20 minutes of basketball.
Made the most of it.
And it's very intense basketball as well. But, you know, for Sebron in this game, 4 rebounds already, so he's doing the work on the glass. He'll get into the scoring.
And already a 2-time player of the week in the ACC for Darian Sebron. Dewana was defending and may have committed the foul. And he did. That's according to Claire Aubrey, joined by Jamie Luckey and Bill Covington Jr., our officiating crew this evening in Raleigh, North Carolina, at Reynolds Coliseum. First on Dewana.
And this is the thing to keep an eye on, Tom. It's Bethune-Cookman's going to drive the ball. And, you know, we talked about Dewana and his foul issues. That's his first one. You know, you're 6 minutes to go in the first half. Pretty good. But, you know, the thing is, too, that Robertson has been sneaking in on the glass behind him when he goes for blocks.
Make sure you stay tuned for the fast break presented by your local Ford dealer. That's coming up during our broadcast this evening on these ACC stations. So glad that you're with us. Tom Worby along with the All-American from Duke, Mike Jaminski, and our outstanding ACC College Hoops production crew. Has been a struggle from the free throw line this season for Bethune-Cookman, 11th in the SWAC, and they're 66% as a team. High arcing shot and a miss from Hayes. In transition, Garrett. He tries to bounce one off the backboard. He misses, and now Hayes. Potential 3-on-2. Smith teeing up the 3. High for the rebound and taken in by Robertson. Garrett all by himself.
Wow, great take. And there again, he's been fearless out on the open floor. Really hasn't had many friends on the break, but able to get all the way to the rim.
It was a slow start for Bethune-Cookman. Trailed 9-0 very quickly in this first half. The lead is now 6. Inside of 6 minutes to go for NC State. Hayes. $15 points for Hayes in the loss to Louisville. He went 5 of 12 from the floor. Knocks down that shot.
Yeah, better again. He's more of a mid-range jump shooter. Can knock down the occasional three, but doesn't have great range.
Bethune-Cookman, 6 of their 8 field goals have come in the paint, challenging that NC State defense.
Well, and basically trying to get Duana in some foul trouble, get him on the bench.
Deep into the shot clock, that rattles out. Had a chance for McIntyre, wouldn't drop. They dump it low to Duana, fights for the ball, loses the fight. Garrett comes away with it. McIntyre trying to get by Hayes, and he does.
Hayes was all alone on that left side, went for the reach, and he better come up with the steal that time. Just gave up an easy layup.
Damani McIntyre, the junior from Indianapolis, Indiana. Hayes with a forceful drive and a foul inside. It looked like Robertson.
This is what Bethune-Cookman does. They like to get on the open floor, take it to the rim. Terrific finish in the break, and then see the crossover. You go for the reach right there, and you just the blow by, and defense can't get there to help.
Second foul on Jacoby Long. And that puts Cam Hayes at the free throw line, one of the top shooters in the ACC from the stripe. 7th in the conference, 83%. By the way, Mike, Cam Hayes on the handle does not have a turnover in this game.
Yep.
Coming into tonight, over 200 minutes played and only 6 turnovers for Hayes.
Well, Kevin Keys told us before the game that he is their best decision maker, and certainly plays out. You like putting the ball. He's got great size. He can see over people, especially he gets into the lane area.
And from nearby Greensboro, North Carolina, the sophomore Cam Hayes, number 3 in white and red. Sebron defending. He steals it in midcourt. Sebron in for the jam.
That's his game. One of the tops in the ACC is steals early on, and it's a perfect picture of how he plays the game. The pick in the open floor and the finish.
And the Wolfpack has tied its largest lead of the first half at 10. Robertson sends it into the second row. Wolfpack basketball. By the way, those are some choice seats right behind the benches there, Mike. There's only 4 rows of seats there.
Yeah, and then, you know, on the long axis of the court, these seats go straight up. Here's the look, and just the great hands out front, and there's no way that Long is going to beat him in a foot race.
4 points, 5 rebounds in the first half for Sebron. As Mike mentioned, 5 double-doubles this season. 20 points or more 4 times. That's tied for the most in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Smith unselfishly to the corner. Allen missed. West got it back from Polito. A near steal from Allen. Now French. Well defended, but he made the shot, Mike.
And he's been dying for the basketball for the last 3 possessions. Finally got the touch. There's no doubt that one was going to go up.
Scraping the rafters here at Reynolds Coliseum with that high arcing shot from French. Retrieved in the backcourt by Allen. Hayes from the corner lines it up. French able to run it down to the corner and save it for the Wildcats. One of the tougher games on their schedule this season was at Seton Hall, then number 21 in the nation, an 84-70 loss. That's when French went wild, though, Mike, right?
30 points.
A career high 30 points for number 30. The spin and the shot on the score.
He's been slow to work into this game, too, but really looking for his shot in the last few possessions.
Driving Hayes. They did not score the bucket initially as it was blocked by Robertson, but the follow is good.
Everybody stopped like it was going to be a call. That's why you play through the whistle.
French was 12 of 21 and made 4 3-point baskets. in that game against Seton Hall, the losing effort, and 30 points for French. Thought about a three. Now lets it fly and hits.
Well, they've given him the left side of the floor. He really hasn't shot anywhere else. He clearly loves it there, and he's been isolated the last few times. See if NC State tries running somebody at him, get the ball out of his hands.
That's 12 points for French, and he's 2 for 2 on three-pointers. That runner back iron. French has the last 7 points for the Wildcats. They've got the basketball on the run. He checked from French. Rebound from Hayes, and he got tied up. And the arrow will favor NC State. How about Joe French, the sophomore from Orlando, Florida, stepping back and knocking down the three and keeping the Wildcats close to the pack. Well, coming up at halftime, it's Driven with Kevin Keats, the fifth-year head coach of the NC State Wolfpack.
Both and he and Reggie Theus share having coached with Rick Pitino, so similar lineage there. But you know, this is a critical little stretch for both teams. Minute 23 left in the half. You know, can NC State give themselves a little cushion, or you know, Bethune-Cookman? You take that first 9-0 run out, and they've been able to play on the floor.
Coach Keats, a Louisville assistant, Mike, from 2011 to 2014, and that trip to the national title game in 2013. DeWanna, second effort, and it will fall, and he got fouled. Old school three-point play time inside Reynolds Coliseum.
A nice job. They get the, you know, clearly going to look to set him up inside. It was a good lob. He had his guy sealed, and amongst three people, he was just the first guy off the floor for the second effort.
Robertson picked up the foul for the Wildcats.
Even on the missed free throw, NC State able to put some pressure on the ball.
Helms to the floor. Arrow to Bethune-Cookman. There's French, who is the only player in our game to get to double digits so far in the first half. 5 of 9 shooting and 12 points. Couple of three-point baskets for number 30 in gold and white. Joe French, the sophomore. Best shooting percentage in the SWAC, and an easy layup on the drive from Damani McIntyre.
Well, what they did was they pulled DeWanna out, got him involved in a pick and roll, and there was no shot blocker behind to clean up the mess.
4 points now for McIntyre, averages just over 9 per game for the junior. Sebron accelerating, couldn't finish off the play. Out of bounds, and Bethune-Cookman basketball.
If I'm guarding Darian Sebron, I'm going to give him a lot of room out on the perimeter. He's so good getting to the rim, either hand, left, right. Couldn't finish that time.
Sebron is 2 of 7 shooting, although he has made 2 of his last 3
and that was the most open that French has been in this half, and he shot an air ball.
Timeout taken by Coach Keats. And NC State leading 34-29. Largest lead of the half for NC State has been 10.
And they've been since that early flurry that they've been able to keep Helms under control. He hasn't scored in about 10 minutes in this half.
Just 13 and a half seconds to go. We've got more ACC basketball coming up on Saturday. And it's the Wake Forest Demon Deacons and head coach Steve Forbes against USC Upstate. Mike and I will be there for that one. Inside Joel Coliseum. Demon Deeks off to a very nice start. They had a great overtime win against Northwestern in the Big Ten ACC Challenge.
Yep. And then you talk about a team that was really thrown out of whack with COVID last year, the 30-day stop earlier in the year, and then going right into conference play.
Hey, go!
Yeah, credit to the schools and support staffs in the ACC to keep this season rolling. Let's go all the way to March.
And fans, I did this game here last year with nobody in the building. It was a little surreal.
Yeah, let's get to Brooklyn, Mike, this year for the ACC tournament.
Yep.
they bill this game as the Heritage Game. So once or twice a season, they'll play inside Reynolds Coliseum.
You know, when Kevin Keith said when they bring recruits here, they bring them to this building, even if the game's at PNC, because they want them to have a feel for the history of NC State basketball. And the Hall of Fame here is outstanding. Really did a great job of remaking this building.
$35 million renovation. That shot right at the horn by Hayes is no good. NC State tied or leading this season. At the half, they're 3-0. Trying to keep it perfect against the Wildcats from Bethune-Cookman, who hung in there in the first half. And it's a 34-29 halftime lead for NC State. French, the leading scorer, with 12. Helms had 9 for NC State. Halftime, straight ahead from Raleigh. This is the Toyota halftime report from Reynolds Coliseum as the 1970 ACC Tournament Championship team from NC State is honored. They beat South Carolina, Mike, in double overtime to win that title in Charlotte. What a great moment for that group. Halftime inside Reynolds Coliseum. Tom and Mike with you from our broadcast position courtside here at Velvano Arena and K-Yao Court. And in that first half, Mike, it was NC State out to that 9-0 run to start the game, but Bethune-Cookman hanging tough.
And, you know, they've been playing hard all season long, on the road for most of it, 1-7, that one win against Bryant, but really showed me a lot after that early timeout. Just incrementally got back into this game, and they're right in it for the second half.
Yeah, it felt like Darian Sebron, one of the leading scorers in the ACC, second behind Michael DeVoe, had a little trouble getting into the rhythm, so Helms picked up the slack.
Yeah, he got off early, although he quieted down in the second part of that first half, but hit some early long jump shots. 1-3 was perfect from the floor, and still is for that half. 9 points for him. But, man, on the other side, Joe French, for the Wildcats, he has been terrific. He was slow to start into this game, but quickly picked up the pace. He's the only double-figure scorer in the game. 12 points for him, 5 of 10 shooting. He's hit 2 threes.
French was 5 of 10 overall from the floor. Funny enough, one of the shots that he missed was a wide-open 3. That was his worst shot of the half, but he still got the double digits with the 12 points. As we take a look at the numbers, Bethune-Cookman started slow for the shooting average, Mike, but they built it up as the half went on. 44% for NC State.
One thing that State does is 25% of their offense comes from the free throw line, and they have not gotten there a lot so far in this game. They need to pick that up in the second half. 13
points on the break for NC State. Points in the paint favoring Bethune-Cookman. Our Toyota halftime report continues in just a moment.
They call you really big, Hardy.
This is Driven, Kevin Keith. Presented by your local Toyota dealers.
You're a positive guy. You bring energy wherever you go. And in the crazy world that we live in with the COVID and social issues, what do you think small acts of kindness mean in the big picture?
Well, love, you have to love during this time. We're in one of the toughest time, probably the toughest time of our lifetime, and you don't know what people are going through. You don't know what's happening in everybody's day-to-day life, and I think an act of kindness is what we need to get through this. I want to be so much more than a coach. And I think sometimes we lose the definition of a coach. You think the coach is the one who's out there in front and he's drawing up plays and he's yelling out stuff and, you know, he's on you about your jump shot. But also with my players, I want to be a father figure. I want to be a big brother. I want them to know that my doors are open. And if that's my role, and if that's the role that the good Lord has put me in, I want to make sure that I'm there for those who need it.
Speaking of guys that need some love, a freshman after Coach Keith's practice to start the season, what's it like acclimating new players into your program, and how do you ease them in versus throwing them in the deep end right away? You
know, I'm very positive with freshmen. And I think everybody tell you, yes, I do a lot more coaching with freshmen. The guys who catch it the most are the guys who are sophomores, juniors, and seniors who have already been in the program. But with freshmen, I understand that each one of those guys, and we have 3 on our team, they're coming from different programs. They're coming from different styles of play. And so I'm more of a teacher with the freshmen than I am jumping on them. Now, if they continue to do the same things wrong, then we have a different conversation. But I like to be the positive guy with our young guys.
When the light bulb goes on, then do you coach harder?
When the light bulb goes on, I coach harder. When we start playing, I try to make sure that I throw everything at them in practice, and so they're prepared for the game. I don't want them to ever not be prepared.
Driven, Kevin Keith is presented by your local Toyota dealers. The new 2021 Toyota 4Runner. Visit Toyota.com for more information.
Stop trouble before it starts with CPI Security. Make your home smart for the holidays. Save up to 40% and get a free video doorbell. CPI, peace of mind all the time.
We welcome you back to the halftime report presented by your local Toyota dealers. The lead is 5 for the Wolfpack, led by as many as 10 in that first half. But Mike, we're inside Reynolds Coliseum, and I know this is such a special place to everybody in the building, but you were telling me you walked through the doors and it was a flashback to your days as a player at Duke.
Yeah, I mean, this place was just awesome. What an awesome home court. I mean, it looked a lot different then. The end zones went way back, but the long axis of court, the people were hanging over the top of you. You know, this place, Carmichael, Cameron, were just classic home courts, and certainly a very, very difficult place to play.
So much fun to be here. Let's go around the ACC and check out some of the headlines. Incredibly, Mike, there's only one team in the top 25, and it's the Duke Blue Devils. They did have that win against Gonzaga when it was #1, but then they followed up with the loss at Ohio State.
And you got to think, North Carolina has been receiving votes. They're right there as well, and you got to think that Florida State's going to get some things turned around. You know, it's just so unusual to not have 3 or 4 teams in the top 25 all year long.
How about that next game coming up for NC State against Matt Painter, #1 Purdue?
The coaching staff didn't want to hear about that before the game. We tried bringing it up, but that's a conversation for tomorrow, but a big opportunity for the Wolfpack up at the Barclays Center up in New York.
And you're talking about teams that are going to right themselves. You would think that Virginia would be part of that group.
They lost a ton of scoring from last year, and, you know, they always struggle a little bit defensively early on, but they'll get things turned around.
All right, Mike, this has been your halftime report, brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. Moments away from the start of our second half inside Reynolds Coliseum, Raleigh, North Carolina. Kevin Keats in the middle of that huddle. His team built a 10-point lead in the first half. It is 5 at halftime, and Helms is the leading scorer for NC State with 9. Didn't miss a shot, Mike. He was 4 for 4 and also made it 3.
And most of those shots came early in the first half. And there's Joe French, who's been the story for Bethune-Cookman. We thought that coming in, and he really had the hot hand. Let's see how the first 4 minutes of this half go. Important first possession for the Wolfpack here.
NC State was 4 of 11 from long distance in that first half. 4 different players hit a 3 for the Wolfpack in the first 20 minutes. Dawana. Stop and start. Nifty dribble. Smith.
See, the thing is, when Dawana sets a screen, you don't have to honor him at all. You can get an automatic double team.
French in trouble. Wolfpack basketball. And now after the whistle, that's French and Hayes getting into it just a little bit as Hayes tried to get the basketball from French.
And what happened was, I mean, French he thought he got pushed out of bounds that time. Bill Covington didn't see it that way, and see a little skirmish there afterwards. Wildcats a little feisty here.
NC State 42% shooting from the floor as Helms hands it off. Smith,
which is about where they are on the season so far, having a tough time shooting the ball.
Not where they want to be in the conference, Mike. That's the bottom of the conference in field goal shooting percentage.
And three-point percentage as well.
As we told you, NC State made 4 threes in the first half. 29% of the season from beyond the arc for NC State. Bill Covington Jr. in the middle there.
Both teams getting a little lecture about the chippy play.
Hayes will go to the free throw line. 83% of the season for Hayes, and 2 for 2 in the game for the sophomore from Greensboro, North Carolina. After that make, we get a message from Works Nitro.
Meet Works Nitro. Powerful tools for any project with gas-like power without the gas. Fueled by PowerShare batteries to give you the power to outperform.
So Hayes is now 4 for 4 from the line, but is struggling from the field, Mike. Just 1 of 7 for a guy who has gone double figures in 6 straight games prior to tonight.
Yeah, but he's very reliable at the free throw line. He and Helms are the 2 guys in the 80s.
3-on-3, Garrett against Hayes. Trying to create some space right in front of Coach Theus. Shot clock's inside of 10.
They're really locked up on French.
From way outside, and it grazes the net from French.
Second air ball he shot from long distance, and that was a rush. That was just terrific man defense by Helms.
I mean, that was at least 25 feet away.
But he had no choice.
Hayes working the baseline. Sebron aggressively to the rim.
That's a good sign to get him involved early here in the second half offensively. Good find by Hayes. Talked about his ability to find people in traffic.
Sebron has scored double-figure points in every game, and now he's just 2 away with 8 points in total. After that driving move. In the paint, they drop it off, and the jam from Robertson.
He was active early in the game, and that wasn't so much as a pass, but a turnover that landed in Robertson's lap in the right place.
Sebron, who had the last basket for NC State, is 4 of his last 5 shot attempts. Crosses it over in traffic, and it rolls out.
Wolfpack fans have found a new target.
Are they saying air ball
yeah.
as he dribbles?
Yeah, they're just anticipating it.
Pull up. Garrett tapped away by Dewana. That will be Pack basketball. Reggie Theus, the first-year head coach. 2-time NBA All-Star, over 19,000 career points. So you and him combined, Mike, how many points?
30. At 11.
All right. It's a good career.
Yeah.
Theus,
a great career.
yeah, Theus in the NBA for 13 seasons with 5 different teams and over 1,000 games. Hayes. It rims off to Garrett. Wildcats 0-4 this season, trailing at the half. They only got that 1 victory, as Mike mentioned. Missed from Robertson. That was against Bryant University. They lost their most recent game to Central Florida. Out of the corner for 3. And holding that finish for a beat, it's Smith.
Yeah, you can see he's starting to get a lot more confidence in his jump shot. Certainly get some momentum off the Louisville game. Had 20 in his career opener. So you know he can score the ball.
Second 3 of the game for Smith. Those 20 points came against Bucknell. That was a season high, and that will fall for Polina. Polina might go 6'7", 250, and a junior from the Netherlands.
He likes to shoot the 3. I think he's better off working inside.
Helms wide open for a 3. Money from Helms.
And right now, this big possession for Bethune-Cookman.
Helms hasn't missed. He's 5 for 5. They can't connect to the alley-oop. Robertson tried to bend the rim again.
NC State starting to widen it out. This is their biggest lead of the game so far.
Shot clock's inside of 10. McIntyre wanted the basketball and the drive. And he got fouled with 6 on the shot clock. The 3-pointers are falling for NC State. Smith finding the range. And then Helms is wide open for a three. He hasn't missed on the night. He's 5 for 5.
ACC College Basketball is brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. Visit your local Toyota dealers today. By CPI Security, CPI home security that protects what matters most. And by the Works Nitro. The Works Nitro, available at worksnitro.com.
First-year head coach Reggie Theus played for Chicago, Orlando, Sacramento/Kansas City, Atlanta, New Jersey, and over 1,000 games in his NBA career, Mike.
Right. North Carolina fans will remember him in the Final Four in '77. North Carolina beat them in the semifinals to get to the finals against Marquette. It was Mike O'Koren's coming out party at 31 points against the Running Rebels.
He was the head coach in Sacramento and assistant at Minnesota in the NBA as well. Did some acting, right? He was on that show Hang Time as Coach Fuller.
You were asking him about the residuals.
Yeah, because I get those checks too.
It was like
19 cents.
Yeah, Jerry Seinfeld. Super terrific.
Yeah. Yep. I hurt my hand trying to sign all those checks, Mike.
That's right. Yeah, he just all clawed up.
He did smile though when we mentioned the acting part of the career. An NBA broadcaster as well, accomplished for our friends at Turner Sports. 63 years old, from Inglewood, California. He's got those athletic director responsibilities as well as Sebron finds Helms. They work to the corner, and Smith. Hello.
Really nice extra pass that time. And Smith's nice form. You can think that three-point percentage will come up. It's certainly hoping that it does.
He's up to 19 made threes on the season. Nobody takes more three-pointers for the Pack. And Garrett floats that one up and in.
I'm afraid, and you know, to his credit, Duana has stayed in the game. 17.5 minutes in that first half. Only had one personal foul. So he's been able to stay on the floor. Has done a nice job blocking shots and staying on the glass.
4 points and 6 rebounds for Duana. That one a little bit short out of the corner from pass. The follow is good, Sebron.
That's what he does. He can hang on the offensive glass as well. First conversion he's had like that this game.
Sebron is into double digits with 10 points. He has scored in double figures in every game. Getting fouled on his way to the rim is McIntyre as he hit the deck. Duana with his second personal. Didn't you just mention he only has one personal foul, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, you know,
which is good for him.
And Kevin Cates said at that position, he'd love to get 10 points and 8 rebounds, you know, out of the 5 position. And, you know, to this point in the game, Jalen Gibson has not played. Ernest Ross a couple of minutes early in the first half. But, you know, you combine, you lose a Manny Bates, and it's not going to be one person who's going to step up and, you know, fill those numbers. And this, Jalen Gibson comes on for the first time in the game.
So Gibson seeing action in his 9th game this season. The sophomore, number 11 in white and red. Averages 2.5 points, almost 3 rebounds per game, and in the lineup.
Little 2-2-1 full court press just to take some time off the clock, not looking for a steal.
Sebron, tough drive up against French.
Gets the foul.
First on French. Sebron shoots 75% from the line. As Mike mentioned, about the only thing he doesn't do, Mike, is shoot the 3. He's only made 1 this season. He's 0 for 2 in the game. Again, that game against Nebraska, quadruple overtime, right, Mike? 39 points and 19 boards.
Big time numbers, highest scoring game in the Kevin Keats era.
Unfortunately for Coach Keats, Sebron coming up empty at the line. Started to get more minutes after the injury to Devin Daniels, the leading scorer for NC State a season ago. That was at the tail end of the season last year, and has parlayed that into an incredible start.
Well, that's the
one of the stars in the league.
Yeah, that's the one thing that Kevin's had to do is replace his leading scorer from the year before, and there's always been somebody there to step up.
Helms falling away. He hit the floor. Wildcats were on a run with McIntyre trying to go coast to coast. It goes out of bounds. It's Pack basketball.
Well, too bad. It was a great end-to-end rush that time. He had a makeable layup.
That last shot had missed by Helms, Mike, was his first miss of the game. Had been 5 for 5 and 12 points. And a couple of three-pointers. Next game for NC State against #1 Purdue.
And they, right now, they may be the best team. Not just with the ranking. A very complete Purdue team. Perimeter offense, big size inside.
That game is Sunday at the Basketball Hall of Fame Invitational in Brooklyn, New York. Their leading scorer is Jaden Ivey, 16 points per game. And, of course, his mother is the head coach of the Notre Dame women's program.
Yeah, and this is the first time in their history Purdue has ever been #1 in the country.
So much size and talent. That one blocked as West was able to get back. French at the other end. Not high enough on the square. NC State wants to run. Pass, trying to run it down and save it. The ball bounced to Helms. French. Helms got back to block it. Helms has done it scoring, but this is pure hustle. And the block from Jericho Helms with the Wolfpack in front. Let's take a look at tonight's Protecting the Paint, brought to you by CPI.
Well, we talk about Duana being the shot blocker, but Jericho Helms, and the thing you didn't see, he's got him teed up right here. He's got everything set up to go up and meet him right at the rim, and that's just a terrific open court defensive play.
That's CPI Security, protecting the paint, courtesy of Jericho Helms. The third block in the game for NC State. They are the leading shot blocking team in the conference, Mike, over 5 per game.
Despite Manny Bates being out for the year, who was the premier shot blocker coming into the season.
Manny Bates, unfortunately, on the bench. 147 career blocks. That is 4th in school history. Bethune-Cookman's gone over 5 minutes with just 1 made field goal.
And they've had terrific opportunities at the rim in the open court. They just haven't converted.
West with a fancy dribble and French in the corner.
French has not seen much light at all. Helms has been in his jersey this whole half. French getting the foul.
French and his teammates have missed 5 straight shots.
And they're looking at French right now, and you know, he's not getting calls on the other end. He was that chippy moment early in this half, and trying to be physical with Helms.
Hayes curls out of the corner. Gibson up over top, can't get it to fall. West trying to work it up ahead. He's got a runner. In traffic. One dribble and a creative play by McIntyre.
Well, the tallest guy on the floor, and Gibson wound up. He was on the floor. Never had a chance to block it by 1-on-4. Sebron taking the...
Determined to get to the rim. Darian Sebron. He's up to 12 points now. And he's got the double-double, Mike, because he's got 10 boards as well. Double-double number 6 on the season for Darian Sebron. Fumbled around and taken by Gibson. Helms. Sebron. Alley-oop.
It was interesting. I thought that Reggie Theus might take a timeout that time, but he's going to let his team play through it. Get used to settling things down on the road.
The 13-point advantage, the largest of the night for NC State. Helms might have tipped it to Sebron. Looking for Helms. Lines it up. West with the rebound. And that last whistle is going against Helms.
And they're going to say there was a rush up the floor, and he was grabbing a player. That's just a great take, and a finish with his offhand too with the left. Nice job in traffic, and then this is what he does. Just throw it up near the rim, and he's going to get it in transition.
14 points for Sebron, 7 of 13 from the floor. Remember, he shoots 55% on the season. Gibson tried to defend it. He couldn't do it. That was Mikey West. First field goal for West. French is the leading scorer for Bethune-Cookman, despite his struggles in the second half. 12 points.
Foul on McIntyre on the play. And, you know, Bethune-Cookman scored the last couple of possessions in the paint area, so Kevin Keith's going to make that substitution, get Dewana back on the floor.
So Helms leaves the game. One of the leading scorers for NC State. There's Dewana. French hasn't scored in this second half for Bethune-Cookman and missed all 4 of his shots in the second half. Helms on the bench with 12. Hayes. Rebound from Long. West trying to get creative. Right into trouble. Inside of 9 minutes to go in our second half. Dewana, yep, got a piece of that one on the way up. A couple of players hit the deck and a foul is called. It's against Bethune-Cookman. Third on Long. The lead at halftime was 5, 34-29 for NC State. Second game against a SWAC opponent this season. Also defeated Texas Southern. The part of the story there is, Mike, is that Texas Southern went on to defeat Florida in convincing fashion out of the SEC. Johnny Jones, their head coach. Dewana high for the board. Rips it down. Smith. Dewana. They combine.
And see, that was a perfect possession for Dewana. Offensive rebound, couldn't put it back up, kicks it out, and but he's on the other end of a lob.
7 rebounds and 6 points.
Great stat line for him. They'll take that every single game. And with him, with limited fouls and 10 minutes, you know, to go in the second half.
Ebenezer Dewana. Now that is a name in the Christmas spirit. Trying to be Scrooge again, and he blocked it into the first row.
Yeah, every once in a while it's nice to make a statement block like that, and he deposited that in the end zone, but eventually you like to see him keep that in play and trigger the break, but that's what he is capable of.
5th block of the game for NC State. That shot clock at 1 for the Wildcats on the inbounds. French did not get rid of it in time.
I might have said that was a quick 1 second, but that's what you would expect on the road.
He had enough time for a catch and shoot.
Yeah,
he must have .3 for the catch and shoot. They had a second left on the clock, but it ran out of the Wildcats. Entertaining ball game from Reynolds Coliseum. Great effort by both teams. NC State coming on strong in this second half. A big reason why French has been kept off the scoreboard and off the score sheet in the second half. Shot clock at 5. That was blocked away by McIntyre, who recovered on the drive from Allen. And now French off the glass. Nice touch.
Good rush up the floor, and they're trying to get it in transition so Dewana isn't sitting back there playing center field.
So French, 14 points now. First bucket of the second half.
He was starting to get out of shape, and Bethune-Cookman has reeled it back in a little bit.
So that one went out of bounds on the move by Hayes. So we'll take a timeout. How about Dewana? Says no, sir. Playing Scrooge against Bethune-Cookman. The Wolfpack up 55-44. They've led by as many as 13 in the second half. Time for Fresh Market, G-Man. Discover the best. How about Darian Sebron?
And really was slow to work into this game offensively, letting his team get involved. But another double-double for him, his 6th of the year. 14 and 12. Been a lot more active in the second half. This nice pick at half court, turning it into points. That's what they've been doing. They've been driving the baseline and finding him cutting right down the middle of the lane. Just kind of lingers around the charge block line and makes himself available.
The only thing he hasn't done is hit three-point shots. Although, pretty alley-oop when he had the finish. For NC State, he's 0 for 2 from beyond the arc. That's not his forte. NC State so strong inside of Reynolds Coliseum since 2000. They're 22 and 2, Mike. 2000 was the first year of PNC Arena, their usual home during the regular season. Sebron recovers. Eyes for the rim. He got tripped up in the paint, stumbles down. Foul against the Wildcats.
Sebron a little out of control on this play. Never really had good control of the basketball, but got the trip going to the basket.
McIntyre picked up the foul. His third. NC State has won 28 straight regular season home games against non-conference opponents as Smith came up short. And under Kevin Keats, they're 35-1 against non-conference at home. So they are exceptionally strong against the non-conference opponents.
There have been some very dangerous and surprising results in non-conference play in our league this year.
To the basket, challenging Dewana and the bucket from West.
They've been fearless in this game, and you know, Dewana's had 4 blocks in the contest, but they continue to attack him.
5 points from West. French is still their leading scorer for Bethune-Cookman with 14. 3 players for the pack in double digits, including Smith, Sebron, and Helms. Sebron out in front with 14 points. That pass from Helms hit the rim, looking for Dewana. Long put on the brakes. .42% as a team shooting in the game for the Wildcats. That's right on their season average and 4th best in the SWAC.
Get out of there.
Bounces out. The follow won't drop for long. Turnaround follow miss from McIntyre. White basketball to the pack.
That's the thing. You get a shot blocker out there. You got guys starting to look for him, and it's just another a convertible shot that the Wildcats have had that have just missed. That's the presence of Dewana. Looking for him instead of finishing the play.
Just over 5 minutes, and now inside of 5 minutes to go in our second half.
Fast-moving game.
Yeah, Tom Wormy, Mike Jaminski, and our outstanding ACC College Hoops production crew with you. From Raleigh, North Carolina, and Reynolds Coliseum, the heritage game for NC State. Sebron working his way through the paint. Smith, shot clock inside of 10. Ping-pongs around to Helms, up and under, and he got fouled.
Yeah, I think if he went up on the same side, he would have finished the play. Still gets to the free throw line.
He's trying to put an end to a 4-minute drought without points for NC State as Helms goes to the free throw line. First trip to the stripe on the evening for Helms. His numbers continuing to escalate as the years move on. Senior from St. Louis, Missouri. 87% free throw shooter, Mike, 4th in the ACC, and he gets 1 of 2. Some contact there on the inbounds. Jamie Lucky's on top of it.
If there was contact, it was by McIntyre, and Smith got hit in the eye.
Officials,
it was just an official just to have, check him to make sure he was okay.
So Jamie Lucky and Bill Covington Jr. are at the scorer's table.
And it's as one-sided as this game has seemed in the second half. It's still a 10-point game with 4 minutes to go. Plenty of time. Here's the look, and this is after the free throw. You see this the elbow right there. Inadvertent contact.
It certainly looks inadvertent, Mike, because he was just trying to get around.
But NC State, I mean, they're trying to stretch it out. You see them going to the pressure after the made free throw.
They led by as many as 13 in the second half and had a 5-point halftime lead, 34-29.
If there was a time for Joe French to step up and assert himself in this game, it'd be right now. He hasn't scored in the second half.
6 of 15 on the night for French, Mike. He's got a couple of threes as well.
I'm sorry, he's got 2 points in this half.
But still, limited production from French, and they need him to get to the box score and get in there quickly, trying to cut into this 10-point lead. Jamie Lucky on the right, Bill Covington Jr. on the left. That's Claire Aubrey, who joins the discussion. Certainly didn't look unnecessary or excessive. Some of the key words in the definition of the flagrant fouls, 1 and 2.
Yeah, he was just trying to, it wasn't clearing space, but and it's going to stay as a common foul.
Bill Covington's coming over to talk to G-Man.
It's going to be a common foul. The referees took a look at it. Bill Covington come over and said it didn't rise to the level of a flagrant one, which is a good call, I believe. So it's going to be NC State basketball.
So McIntyre with his 4th personal foul in that exchange, and it's Hayes triggering the inbounds for NC State. 4.5 minutes to go in regulation, and Smith just lost the handle out of bounds in front of his home bench.
Just a freshman brain cramp right there, and there was nobody around him. He just turned it over with no ball pressure.
His first turnover of the night. And we talked about how NC State had been so careful with the basketball. Smith on the weak side had it taken away and knocked away, and that is off of Garrett.
French had the shot, but it was contested. Really has not had any open looks. Credit to the NC State defense locking in on him.
He's now 2 of 7 on 3-point attempts for French. Helms, his 3 misses from the corner. Dewana and West got tangled up. And a foul coming up on the play against NC State. Let's take a timeout. The home stretch is ahead of us. 56-46, NC State Wolfpack. 7 made threes in the game for NC State, up by 10, Mike Jaminski.
Yeah, they've had some nice looks and just dribble in. The one Smith has really been confident in his jump shot, 3 of 6 from behind the arc. Good extra pass, and he's been getting some nice looks.
33% in total for NC State. Now that's not overly impressive, but it is above their season average, Mike, of 29%, which is at the bottom of the conference as far as 3-point shooting is concerned for the Wolfpack. So it is an improvement. Dewana, free throw line. Mike, we told you that the next game, which Coach Keats told us they would not look past Bethune-Cookman. Their next opponent is #1 Purdue, which is playing tonight against Rutgers in a tight game. NC State has won 6 games all time against the #1 team in the nation. They will take on #1 Purdue on Saturday. That'll be in Brooklyn, New York. Those 6 wins includes the national championship game in 1983 against #1 Houston with Jim Valvano as the head coach here at Valvano Arena.
Certainly the most memorable victory they've had.
Is that incredible?
Yeah. What a time.
They try to go to Dewana, and Helms' pass sails out of bounds.
See, and that's to throw him long lobs is going to be a bit of a stretch. You've got to get him floaters in the lane.
So we'll take a timeout, a teaching moment, even for the senior Helms from Kevin Keats. .48-46, 3:25 to go. Every time NC State tries to run away from the Wildcats, Mike, they tighten it up a little bit, and they're hanging in there.
And now they've got Sebron on French, and it's going down the stretch here. It's got to be anybody but number 30 beating you if you're NC State.
Bethune-Cookman as many turnovers as they have made field goals, 7 in this second half. French with 14 points, the only Wildcat in double digits. Halfway down and out on the turnaround from Robertson. Foul coming up.
Offensive rebound from Marcus Garrett.
Helms picked up his 2nd personal foul. Helms pumped in 31 points in a game against Louisiana Tech for a career high. Also made a career high 6 threes in that game. They may need a little bit more offense from Helms down the stretch here to put away the Wildcats.
Nice job by State staying out of the bonus here, defending without fouling, sitting there with only 3 team fouls.
Next game will be the home opener on Wednesday against Johnson University of Florida. For Bethune-Cookman, they had a chance at the rim, and it would not drop for Robertson. 7th straight miss by the Wildcats.
And Tom, that's got to be 7 or 8 layups that they are really short-range shots they've missed in this half. They've had plenty of opportunities.
NC State has not lost the current members of the SWAC. They're 9-0, including the win against Texas Southern earlier this season. Helms with the shot clock winding down. This is Smith on the drive. Score the bucket for Smith, and he's going to the free throw line.
Just no fear in him going left, finishing with his right hand, getting back, and finished with his left, actually. Tough shot. Absorb the contact. I just love the size that he has.
Able to calculate the physics and get it to drop.
6'4" at him. He can really be a presence defensively.
First field goal in over 6 minutes for NC State on that driving basket. An old school 3-point play from Smith. Hayes to the bench for NC State. He's got 6 points, but just 1 of 10 from the floor.
Yeah, he's really the only Wolfpack player that struggled shooting the basketball.
They're shooting 41% as a team, right on their season average for the year for NC State. Will it be enough tonight? 2 minutes and change to go in regulation.
Again, another reach foul that time, but still not in the bonus.
It's a 3rd on Helms. Robertson again trying to back it down, and this time he's able to get the bucket.
A little bit different story when you have Ross playing you instead of Dewana.
1:45 to go now. largest lead has been 15. That was just a moment ago before the bucket from Robertson. Smith, quick release. Ross lost it on the way up. Sebron scored the basket as Robertson interfered. So with 1:26 to go, Helms comes out of the game with his 13 points. A couple of threes, 5 of 7 shooting, and 3 boards for Helms. Sebron as well. Leading scorer was 16. He's hit double digits in every game. A double-double for Sebron, 16 points, 14 rebounds, his 6th double-double of the season. Ross and Gibson combining defensively out of bounds and staying with the Wildcats. It looks like Bethune-Cookman has called a timeout. That's before Nunnally could come into the game for NC State. You heard the ovation. And so there is a timeout on the court. 63-48. It's just a 5-point lead at halftime, and NC State able to extend that lead, but it took the better part of this game, Mike, for NC State to pull away, and we'll have more ACC basketball for you. We're going to Winston-Salem. Wake Forest hosting USC Upstate out of the Big South. 7 Eastern on Saturday. You want to check your local listings for the game and time in your area. I will be joined by the All-American from Duke, Mike Jaminski, in that game.
Just moving down I-40 a little bit. Go over to Winston-Salem, and I mean, you know, if you're Reggie Theus, you know, it's a loss, but you take away that 9-0 start, and you know, you're right. It's a competitive ball game, and even despite that, this team showed a lot of fight in this game. It's something Kevin Keith certainly expected from them.
And the final minute for Reynolds Coliseum in our Heritage game.
And that's, you know, and we see French just dribbling, and that's been the secret and the key to the second half, keeping him out of the scoring column for the most part. Only 2 points for him after a 12-point first half.
So NC State is going to improve to 7-2, Mike, and 6-1 at home this year.
Good win to right the ship after the loss to Louisville.
It was a close loss, 73-68. They actually took the lead in the second half, 59-54 against the Cardinals, and then got outscored 9-0 to end the game against Louisville. Ross missed it. Gibson couldn't put it away. This will be 29 consecutive regular season home games against non-conference opponents with a victory for NC State. Next up, #1 Purdue on Sunday in Brooklyn, New York. Ross gets to it, angles to the rim. Foul on the play. By the way, the last win against the #1 team for NC State, Mike, that was against Duke at PNC Arena in 2013, 84-76. So there's your history with NC State against #1. And again, the national title game in '83 against Houston, which was #1.
Yeah, you would think in this conference there would be opportunities to play against #1.
Ross with a very kind bounce.
The crowd kind of moaned a little bit on the first carom off the iron, but came back down.
Another free throw for Ross. 6'9" freshman gets them both. 2 of 4 from the line in the game for Ross. In the final seconds now from Reynolds Coliseum. And the Pack can celebrate victory against the Wildcats from Bethune-Cookman. Acquitted themselves quite well. But in the end, the Wolfpack too strong. 65-48 is the final count.
Yeah, and it's a great test. The end. This team, Bethune-Cookman, came in, played very well, I thought, and you know, missed some easy opportunities in the second half. But credit the Wolfpack, really some nice balanced scoring from them, and a very, very good game from Ebenezer Duana.
Gowanna and the Pack win it 65-48. That's win number 7 on the season against just 2 defeats for NC State. Now it's on to take on number 1 Sunday in the road trip to Brooklyn. 3 players got into double digits: Smith, Sebron, and Helms for NC State. Smiles all around. Sebron led the way with 16 points, 14 boards, and his 6th double-double of the season. We've got more from Raleigh in just a moment. NC State takes out Bethune-Cookman. Darian Sebron from Helms, the alley-oop jam. Part of the victory tonight, 65-48 for NC State. Now 7-2 on the season as we go to Mike Cheminsky standing by with Kevin Keats.
Thanks, Tom. Kevin, first of all, a very nice win for you coming back against the loss against Louisville. What did you like from your squad tonight?
Well, I thought we played hard. We didn't do everything the right way, but we're playing a lot of young guys, so I thought a lot of our young guys grew up tonight.
You've got a freshman guard who seems to be blossoming, especially offensively. Talk about his confidence.
Well, we're talking about Jaquavion Smith, playing really good basketball. He sees a big rim. He's been a guy who's won 3 state championships in high school, so he's not afraid of the moment.
You know, we talked about the production out of the center position, but Ebenezer Dwana had a great game by himself tonight. Really nice job inside in the paint area.
He's getting better. And every time that we practice, every time we play a game, you can see some improvement. He's going from a defensive guy to somebody we can throw the ball inside the score.
And you've got an ACC Player of the Year candidate in Darian Sebron. What has he meant to this squad early in the season?
Well, when you look at Darian, he's been so good for us because he's a stat stuffer. You look at him, he'll have 8 rebounds, he'll have 12 points, he'll have some assists, he'll have some steals. So he's been very important for us, especially losing a guy like Manny.
All right, we promised we wouldn't talk about Purdue, but it's just a quick thought about playing number 1 coming up.
They're good. I mean, I don't know what else to say about them. I've had a chance to see some highlights of them. Haven't watched them play, but they're certainly a really good basketball team. To me, it's the best team that I've seen so far, and so that's why they're number 1.
Kevin, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Tom, back to you.
G-Man, thank you. Tonight, NC State can celebrate the 65-48 victory before they move on to Brooklyn Sunday to take on number 1 Purdue. Here are the final numbers. 39% from the floor for NC State, just slightly below their season average of 42%. They did make 7 3-pointers, so improvement there as far as shooting beyond the arc for NC State. Did some damage from the free throw line as well. Did not turn it over a whole lot. They got out and they ran. 19 fast break points for NC State, which led by 5 at halftime, and ultimately they win this one 65-48. They have beaten a team out of the SWAC now, Mike, twice this season, and give credit to Reggie Theus and Bethune-Cookman. They came here to play. You mentioned that NC State went out to the 9-0 run, and that really kind of set the tone. But Bethune-Cookman refused to go away tonight.
Yeah, and, you know, in talking to Reggie Theus, he said, look, we've got to, even though you get an L, you've got to break things down and look for the little wins within the court, you know, within the game. And he's going to find a lot to be happy about. I thought they got opportunities at the basket in the second half that they didn't take advantage of. And, you know, especially on the road, you've got to convert those.
I thought a lot of maturity was shown by Darian Sebron, because if you recall, Mike, he started out the game very slow. Made maybe a couple of poor choices taking 3-pointers. That's not what he does. When he started to drive it to the basket, look for his shot, collaborate with his teammates. Helen found him on an alley-oop. Things really started to click for Sebron.
And this is what got him going the second, you know, that pick and the defensive play early on, and then he just found the seam against the defense and got some good layups inside. But, you know, and credit him, he wasn't overly aggressive early on. He wasn't hunting his offense, but I thought he let the game come to him. You know, guys like that are going to get their numbers eventually, and he winds up having just another cookie-cutter double-double.
16 points, 14 rebounds. He's now scored in double digits in every game. As you mentioned, the double-double, 6 on the season. I mean, we expected him to be an important part of this team this year. But did we expect this kind of production and for him to contribute the way he has early on in the season to really help NC State out to a solid start?
Well, I think that's what Kevin Keats has had. You know, he's found that person that steps up every single year. And, you know, we talked about the progression that he's made since his freshman year, increased his scoring. But, you know, you wouldn't even want to think about where this team would be without him on the floor. He's been terrific, and I'd say a legitimate player of the year candidate so far.
Yeah, he had 16, Smith had 14, and Helms had 13 in the win, 65-48. Join us Saturday night, 7 Eastern, as Wake Forest hosts USC Upstate. Check your local listings. For Mike Jaminski and the rest of our outstanding production team, I'm Tom Wormy, saying good night from Raleigh and Reynolds Coliseum.